Namaste, namaste, and welcome to this short yoga practice. Today, I'm going to share with you different variations of Warrior 3, not in the fancy add-on bits, but in the way we can support it to make it a little bit more accessible. So recently, we've been working in our group classes with arm weights. So arm movements used in Warrior 3, which can make us feel a little bit less stable in an already challenging balancing pose. So what variations can we use instead of the classic Warrior 3 that would help? I've got a number of items close by to help. So I've got a set of blocks here. That's two blocks stacked one on top of the other, but nice and sturdy. And I've got a chair, also quite a heavy and sturdy chair, and I've got a wall. Now you can use any alternatives to these that are about those heights. So for example, you could use your sofa instead of a chair, and you could use a stack of books instead of this block, or a door instead of a wall, but make sure that it doesn't open out the way for safety. So Warrior 3 is a classic pose, although not quite classical. It's not an ancient pose in yoga. And often we come into it from Warrior 1, where we bring the weight forward into the front leg and float the back leg off the floor. And oftentimes we're aiming for it to be a parallel to the floor if possible. And I hope that was in the demonstration. But we can get almost some of the way there by using some support. So the first variation that we can do is just to do the back foot on the floor. So in this, we start from Tadasana and step the left foot back. So we find Warrior 1 first. We want to make sure that front knee tracks the front foot, and doing whatever is helpful here with your hands, maybe hands on the hips to begin with. We can peel our heel off the floor, the left heel off the floor, take the weight into the right leg more, and just fold the torso forward. And here you've got some stability from that back leg, but you are still using the vast majority of your weight down through the right leg. And you can come towards the tips of the toes if that helps to get that sensation of making more effort with that front leg and making the back leg lighter. And then from here, you can practice just little lifts. If you want to, lift and hold, but you're very close to the floor. And you've still got that effort going on in the upper body that helps you to hold the pose. And then when you come out, just step the feet together. Perfect. So our next step up from the floor is to use our blocks. So exactly the same thing, but we need to sort of find our way onto the blocks. So you might need to look behind you. It might be helpful to have a mirror or a friend so that you can step your foot back to find your blocks whilst taking your weight onto your front leg. So I've swapped my legs. This time I've got my left leg forward, my right foot is on the blocks. And again, I'm just going to hinge forward at the hip a little bit. I don't need to bend my left knee quite so deeply, but we do want to ever so slightly bend, rolling the shoulder blades towards each other, finding that lift in the belly muscles. And again, it's those maybe coming onto the very tiptoes and seeing if you can lift that back leg a little up and down, or just find some stillness here before stepping onto both feet. A little bit more challenging to be slightly higher from the floor. But if you're doing something with the arms as well, then you might find that that's ideal, just enough practice to, just enough support to allow you to move around with the arms without toppling over, which we want to avoid. So our third variation is with the chair, and here you can get a little bit fancy. So we do want to be able to step our foot back onto the chair, so we just need to lift enough to be able to do that. But we can take the top of the foot to the chair instead of having the toes tucked under if you want to, which is a little bit closer perhaps to the activation that we would have in our leg. Front knee slightly bent, hinging forward from the hips. And now you can see it's easier for us to get lower down, more parallel to the floor, because our back foot is higher. We can have it toes down or toes tucked under and doing as we choose. And we're so close to being in the alignment that feels good that we can float the foot up and down. Just practice that, particularly to strengthen the standing leg, but also the posterior chain, where we are trying to create enough muscle activation to feel that we can support the full pose in a steady, sturdy way. And so our final variation is with a wall. So it's the same sort of principle. Here, there are lots of ways that people like to find the right distance from the wall. You can simply stand in front of the wall, put your leg forward, and you want to really stand where your leg was, lifted away from the wall, to find the right distance to put your foot back to the wall. And I find that people generally underestimate how much distance they need. So you want to have a little think about maybe stepping just a little bit further forward than you think. So here again, we're taking weight onto one leg, hinging forward, and just imagine you're stamping your foot into the wall behind you. So flexed foot, a little soft in that front knee, and angling your torso to be wherever feels comfortable, nice and firm in the belly. And you can see here that this is really sturdy. You could do lots of things with the arms to be able to find balance in your warrior three. And all four of these options are challenging because they all take more weight onto one leg than the other. So they're all balancing of a kind. It's just not with the foot completely released from the floor. And they get progressively harder as well. So the wall variation or the chair variation, about the same, but the floor is slightly easier than the blocks. So have a go with these, particularly if you've been to class recently and you're doing some tricep extensions or something with your handheld weights, or just fancy moves with your arms, and begin to build up your stamina and endurance and balance gradually over time. I hope you enjoy these variations, and I'll work with you again soon. Namaste.